So, like the cheap date that I am, I'm going to give away everything in the first couple of seconds of this video. Then you can make your choice on whether you want to stay or not. I've noticed that quite a few people are leaving me dislikes early on if they think this video has been negative towards their baby stock, and then just turning off. So because of that, I want to make very, very clear at this stage, I am actually bullish on Jumia. Okay, I think that this is a stock that is going to increase in value. So I am bullish on this stock. I am not saying that you should be shorting it. I am not saying that it's going to be worth less in a few years' time. I think it's going to be at least 100% more than it is currently at the moment. However, that being said, I think it's going to be a number of years until it reaches that kind of a level. And that's what I'll go into in more depth in this video now. So, with Jumia, like I say, I think the current price, we've had a lot of excitement over the past couple of months, last few months, and it's gotten up about 500% from the start of the year. So we've had some really fantastic growth. However, when you look at the all-time high from last year, we're actually down 10%. Okay, so what effectively that is saying is people thought last year that the company was going to do better than they do this year, which is a little bit worrying. And there's obviously a number of reasons for that. So obviously last year there was a lot of excitement, and then the company got looked into a little bit further. There was a lot of negativity that came out about the company, a lot of negative press, including, for example, a Bloomberg article that was very critical of the fact of the really, really high failure rate on their deliveries. So those of you that are not quite aware of this, Jumia had a very, very high rate of customers that were placing an order, the product was going out for delivery, and then they just couldn't find the customer, so it was getting returned. So really, really high failure rate, which is absolutely terrible for a company like Jumia, and would have caused them a lot of issues. That doesn't really seem to be hugely resolved. However, the company is making steps forward in kind of helping to mitigate that and to reduce it. The Jumia Pay, for example, they've kind of integrated their own payment options. They're looking at all of the other platforms out there, and they're kind of stealing those ideas and trying to work out how they can work those ideas into the Jumia platform, which is absolutely fantastic, as long as it all kind of works, really. So really kind of like the main concerns at the moment in the very short term for Jumia are, first of all, we've had the global pandemic, in which case the majority of the world has seen everyone shifting online, everyone kind of buying online rather than buying from local shops. Whereas Africa seems to have actually gone the other way, and that digitalization that has been happening, has been growing very, very fast, actually seems to have taken a step back, looking at obviously figures coming from Jumia and other online examples. So there is obviously quite a big concern in that regard. Not in the longer term, but in the short term of that digitalization of Africa, how quickly it is actually happening, and how strong that and lasting that impact is going to be, and whether we're kind of going to have like little bursts almost of digitalization where they kind of take a few steps forward and then take a few steps back. Now, obviously, there is a huge number of other issues that Jumia has to overcome within Africa. So when you look at, for example, Amazon is the one that Jumia is often compared to. The Amazon of Africa is a term that's been used a lot. And when you look at, obviously, in America, for example, you've got Amazon. They've got all of the population from across the whole of America, and with that comes all of the economic buying power, all the transport. So you have all of those customers spread out throughout that whole area, but you then also have a complete freedom of trade going across all of those barriers, which means that it's so easy for a customer in New York to buy from a business in California. And Amazon have also then pushed that across borders, and they've got over, obviously we've got the EU, which Amazon is in, and again, obviously Amazon is mainly based in the larger EU countries, Spain, Germany, France, Italy, and they've now obviously expanded into a few of the other markets as well. But the benefits of that is the fact that they only actually need to be in, say, for example, they've got an Amazon in Germany, and anyone from the whole of Europe can still buy from Amazon Germany and get their product delivered fairly easily. So you have this kind of quite an easy concept of being able to buy from one country and having your kind of business based in one country while still being able to sort of service many, many other customers. And obviously Alibaba is the biggest example of that. When you look at the AliExpress website, which is their international site, you can really see that obviously that's one Chinese website that is geared for the whole world to buy from. So anyone from across the world can buy from Alibaba, or AliExpress rather. And you don't really have that so much with Jumia because of the fact that the way that each of the individual countries in Africa is set up, they're far more individually based, even to the extent where actually you almost end up city based. I obviously looking the basic kind of research that I've done on Jumia. When you look at the Nigerian website, for example, you actually find that a lot of sellers are only able to sell to people in the capital. So you then end up having a large amount of the population of the country that are not able to buy the products that are being sold, which massively reduces the size of the potential market. Now, obviously, as far as the country goes, and as far as the population and the cost of being able to service that population, I don't for a second doubt that, for example, with Nigeria, that being purely focused on Lagos is the best business concept for the company. But you don't get those economies of scale that Amazon has, and you also then don't really kind of get the economies of scale for the small business sellers based on the platform to be able to make it a viable option as a selling platform. So your sellers aren't necessarily making that much money. And for me, that's kind of like one of the main points on why Jumia is really struggling throughout Africa. It's because of the fact that the sellers aren't able to really maximize that economies of scale that Jumia's got. You know, it's based throughout the whole of Africa, but it's not necessarily that easy for sellers on Jumia to sell to all of the customers throughout the whole of the Jumia platform. And when you compare it with, say, Amazon, for example, and again, Amazon has very separate websites. Like, for example, if you sell on Amazon.com, then you're not necessarily going to be able, you're not easily able to sell to Amazon Australia or Amazon Canada or Amazon Mexico. But on the flip side, you are able to relist your products on those websites and have them quite easily shipped. And it is a very seamless process. So you can have your products, for example, in a US-based warehouse and able to ship to Canada, Mexico, Europe, and all of the other countries that Amazon is available in. And you get the same with, like I say, with Alibaba, with their AliExpress website that is available throughout the whole world. So you have people from all different countries that are buying from these websites. So it gives the sellers on these platforms the ability to be able to reach a large market, and therefore they're able to reduce their prices because of the fact that they're able to get such high demand. Whereas with Jumia, because they're not getting that high level of demand, they're not really seeing the economies of scale, so they're not making their products that much cheaper, which then kind of links into the fact that then people don't necessarily see the benefits of buying through the online platform. Sorry, there's quite a lot in that. But that's kind of like the main economies of scale issue that Jumia is kind of facing. And that's not even including like all of the massive issues with trying to get from one country to another in Africa at the moment. Like, so even if Jumia had the technology in place and was able to kind of facilitate that kind of movement from all across the whole of Africa, we're still going to have a lot of trouble with the physical borders and being able to move products from one country to another. And they don't have that kind of working together attitude throughout the whole of Africa. And now, obviously, I am speaking in very general terms here. There are some countries that are working very well in Africa together. These are, as a whole, if you, for example, tried to drive from, say, South Africa up to Nigeria, all the different countries that you've got to go through, you would suffer a lot of issues trying to get between those two countries because of the fact of all the different countries that you've got to go through, all the checks and everything that you need to work through. And that is one of the second biggest cruxes for Jumia, and it's why we're not going to get that economies of scale for the sellers on Jumia, which is then going to push on to mean that the customers won't get the economies of scale, and it just stops it being worthwhile, which then ends up meaning that actually for a lot of customers, it's probably going to be more cost effective for them to buy online from other countries and have those other countries ship the products in. For example, buying from Amazon.com or buying from AliExpress. You know, these bigger websites that have the economies of scale internationally that are able then to ship in to individual African companies, individual countries for cheaper. So those are the main kind of issues that I see with Jumia at the moment. Like I say, this is not necessarily me saying that the company is going to fail. I am bullish on this company, and I think there is a lot of potential in Africa. I think the business model and the way that Jumia is moving forward, there is a lot of potential for the company. And if it was just a case of someone said to me, here's $100 of stock for Jumia, you can either sell it, keep the cash, but you have to spend it and not buy any other stocks, or you have to keep the stocks, I would probably keep them because they will go up in value. However, I don't see it being the best choice to use your funds with. There are far better companies that are going to grow faster, that are going to grow better, and that are far more stable than Jumia. And for me, that's the most important thing. Okay, as an investor, anyone can pick a company that's going to grow in value. Okay, that's not necessarily the hard part. What the hard part is finding the companies that will outgrow the average, and that's what we need to do. And I don't think Jumia is actually going to outgrow the average, at least in the short term. I think if you look at it over the next 3 to 5 years, I think there's a chance that Jumia will probably underperform the Nasdaq, and I think that longer term it may well kind of reach a point where it then starts to climb and becomes a viable business. And at that point, maybe I'll make another video to say, let's invest in Jumia. But for now, those are my thoughts. That's why I don't think it's a good idea to invest in it right now. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.